and the latter being narrated by Abu Qatada al-Ansari radiyallahu ta'ala anil jami', speaking about cursing the shaitan in the salah, and also speaking on the permissibility and the fiqh of carrying a baby in the salah. From the issues that pertain to chapter 9, hadith 315, is the commonly asked about issue, which is, can I offer the salah, can I make night prayer holding the Mus'haf al-Sharif? Holding the Mus'haf al-Sharif. Yani they say holding the Quran. Can I pray reading from it? Is it permissible? What do the people of knowledge, what do the ulama of Islam say about doing that? And some of them, they say that it shouldn't be done. And it should be avoided. It should be stayed away from. Because, first and foremost, it's a means of extra, unnecessary movement in the salah. They say it's a means of extra and unnecessary movement in the prayer. And the asl is that the prayer is supposed to be performed in a still, calm manner. وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ, Allah says. وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. Stand in front of Allah Azza wa Jalla with submission. حَتَّى تَطْمَئِنَّ, until you're still and tranquil. Okay? So they say that when you carry it, you have to make ruku', you have to flip the page, you have to place it down, you have to get up. That's a lot of harakah, which is unnecessary. And they also say that a person may fall into unintentionally disrespecting it by placing it on the ground, so on and so forth, dropping it, fumbling it, waliyadu billah, etc. And the other ulama will say rather it's permissible to offer these prayers holding the Mus'haf Sharif, and a movement which is brief, a movement which isn't consistent or concurrent, a movement which doesn't happen again, a movement that doesn't seem to be too far and too outlandish from the salah is okay. Such as carrying a baby in the salah. Carrying a baby in the salah. A person is going to hold the baby with one hand on the chest or on the hip. A person has to gently make ruku'. May have to place the baby down in ruku'. Come out of sujood with one hand, one arm, wa hakadha. So they say that there's going to be movement in the salah, and the Prophet ﷺ, he did it, and he was leading the people in a prayer. So if it's permissible to hold a baby in the salah, then one may say it's even more permissible to hold the Mus'haf Sharif with the purpose of reciting the Quran and reading from the Quran. So this is just an example, brothers and sisters, of how one fiqh issue takes us to other fiqh issues, even if they aren't directly connected and attached. Everybody understand this? And in general, the ضابط العام الذي يربط بين كل هذه المسائل والفروعات, the thing that joins and unites all these different branches is the concept of al-harakatu fi salah wa sukun fi salah. Being still in the prayer or moving about what? In the prayer. Everybody understand this? So that can be applied to any other issue. Any other issue. Holding a baby, reading from the Mus'haf, turning off your cell phone, steering and driving a car. Everybody understand this? Any other issue that pertains to harakah, movement in the salah. Everybody clear on the salah. So we learn from this other issues and how they apply or how they don't apply with regards to movement in the prayer. Being still, and when it's permissible to move, and if you move or when you move, how much you can and cannot do. طيب خيرا inshallah. So chapter number 10 is very similar to chapter number 9. The author says, Bab jawaz al-khutwati wal-khutwataini fi salah. It is permissible to take a step or two during a salah, the prayer. He says that it is permissible to take one step or two steps in the salah. I.e., just like permissible or it's permissible to hold the baby, put down the baby, pick up the baby in the previous chapter. So here he's talking about the issue of making an actual movement with one's feet. Not with one's hands, not with one's shoulder or hip, but with one's actual feet. To move with your feet. The author says, al-khutwa wal-khutwatain. One or two steps. Does that mean only two is the most? Or does it mean this is ala wajh taqreeb? Approximately. Yani a few steps. And nothing that's too much. Also the concept of, it doesn't specify whether those one or the two steps are forward or backward, to the right or to the left. Nor does it specify in the chapter heading, these steps, are they done for that which is obligatory and mandatory? Or is it permissible to take one or two steps for something that's preferable? Something that's what? Preferable. You don't have to move, but it's best to move. Or the concept of the qibla. Taking the steps towards the qibla, just like we said, right and back, right and left, etc. Everybody understand this? Khairan, inshallah. So let's see what the hadith says. Author says, Hadith Sahl ibn Sa'd as-Sa'di radiyallahu anhu, قال أبو حازم ابن دينار إن رجالا أتوا سهل بن سعد الساعدي وقد امتنعوا في المنبر مما عوده فسألوه عن ذلك فقال والله إني لأعرف مما هو ولقد رأيته أول يوم وضع وأول يوم جلس عليه رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أرسل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إلى فلانة امرأة قد سماها سهل مري غلامك النجار أن يعمل لي أعوادا أجلس عليهن إذا كلمت الناس فأمرته فعملها من طرفاء الغابة ثم جاء بها فأرسلت إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فأمر بها فوضعتها هنا ثم رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى عليها وكبر وهو عليها ثم ركع وهو عليها ثم نزل القهقرة فسجد في أصل المنبر ثم عاد فلما فرغ أقبل على الناس فقال أيها الناس إنما صنعت هذا لتأتموا بي أو لتأتموا ولتعلموا صلاتي. Is narrated by Abu Hazim ibn Dinar, and it says in the English translation, radiyallahu anhu, is this person a Sahabi? It's the fifth, sixth time the author has done this, the translator. It says here, some people went to Sahl ibn Sa'd as-Sa'di radiyallahu anhu and told him that they had different opinions regarding the wood of the pulpit. They asked him about it, and he said, by Allah, I know of what wood the pulpit was made, and no doubt I saw it on the very first day when Allah's Messenger ﷺ took his seat on it. Allah's Messenger ﷺ sent for such and such an Ansari woman, and Sahal mentioned her name, and said to her, order your slave carpenter to prepare for me some pieces of wood, i.e. pulpit, on which I may sit at the time of addressing the people. So she ordered her slave carpenter, and he made it from the tamarisks of the forest and brought it to the woman. The woman sent that pulpit to Allah's Messenger ﷺ, who ordered it to be placed here. Then I saw Allah's Messenger ﷺ offering salah on it and bowed on it. Then he stepped back, got down, and prostrated on the ground near the foot of the pulpit, and again ascended the pulpit. After finishing the salah, he faced the people and said, I have done this so that you may follow me and learn the way I offer the salah. The hadith tells us that one day the Prophet ﷺ, he wanted a minbar, and he didn't have a minbar. As it states in other narrations, there was a tree stump that he used to rest upon or lean upon when he addressed the people, give the khutbah. But a time came in which he wanted a minbar. So he told a woman who was from the Ansar, the people of Medina, he says, tell your ghulam, your servant, your young boy who's your servant, he's a carpenter, you own him. He says, tell him to make me a pulpit, to construct for me a pulpit out of wood. So this was brought up because some people, they differed on what the minbar was made of. Who were these people that were different? Were they Sahaba or other than the Sahaba? What were they doing different about what type of wood the Prophet's minbar was made of? What tangible value was that? What tangible benefit was it to them at that time to know what was the type of wood or tree that the minbar was composed of or constructed from? What's important is that's what happened. So Sahal radiallahu anhu, the Sahabi, who's clearly Sahabi, he said, I know what it was made from and I know the story behind it. And he told him the story. That the Prophet ﷺ, he commanded this woman to get her servant, her slave carpenter, to make a minbar out of wood. So he went to the forest, he brought back the wood, he constructed it, they sent it to him. And then the Prophet ﷺ says here, ثم جاء بها فأرسلت إلى رسول الله فأمر بها فوضعتها هنا. And then it says that he prayed on the minbar. He made salah on top of the minbar. He stood up, he stood back, he made sujood at the foot of the minbar, etc. And then he told the people, I only did this for you to see me, and for you to follow me, and for you to take my example in the salah. The highlighting point from the hadith is it says that the Prophet did what? No, it doesn't say he moved.
Took 1 or 2 steps.
هذا هو. It says that he took what? 1 or 2 steps where? Backwards or forward? Both. Stepped up, stepped down. So he took 1 or what? 2 steps. Everybody clear on this or not? That's the link between the hadith, the whole entire story, and the what? Chapter heading. Everybody clear on this or not? Now, before we move on to the rest of the hadith and the kalam of Nawawi, what the other ulama say about this issue, one can say, how is it permissible for a Muslim to take 1 or 2 steps in a prayer? And the Prophet ﷺ only did that out of necessity. And that was to show and to teach the people. Today, there is no messenger of Allah teaching us the salah. We have his hadiths, the hadiths of the messenger of Allah ﷺ. So how is it now still permissible for me to take 1 or 2 steps? And the Prophet did it. He says, I only did it to show you, for you to follow me. Everybody understand this? Also, one may say, in this hadith, not only is it permissible to take 1 or 2 steps, but it's also permissible to ascend and to descend. Because he didn't just take 2 steps backwards and forwards, but he went and went down. Do they say that? Do they take that from the hadith, or they only say khutwatain? Everybody understand this? If you want to take it, then you have to take what? All of it, organically. And if it's processed and synthetic, then that's a different story. Everybody clear this or not? طيب خيرا inshallah. So that's the highlighting point from the hadith. Also, as we said before, is it permissible to take more than 2 steps in a prayer? And is it permissible to step to the left or to the right, or to step backwards in the prayer? Everybody got this? Everybody got this inshallah. طيب خيرا inshallah. So therefore, that's the main fiqh issue from the hadith. It says here that the Prophet ﷺ, he says, أَرْسَلَ إِلَىٰ فُلَانَةٍ. He sent to what? Or he sent for a woman. Naam. And he says, Muri. This proves the permissibility for a man to speak to a woman. For a man to speak to a what? A woman. This also proves the permissibility of having a servant or slave in Islam. Hadith also shows us the value of skills, carpentry, these types of skills that people have. It's a value. Hadith also shows us the permissibility of cutting down trees. That it's not haram to cut down a tree. It's permissible to cut down a tree for its wood. Hadith also shows us the concept of Sifa Salat al-Nabi, the Prophet ﷺ's prayer, and its importance and the obligation of learning it. The obligation of learning how to pray in the prophetic manner, to the best of one's ability. And it also shows the usage of the minbar for other than the khutbah, which has become very abandoned today. Once, when I was in Yemen, it was a mustafid, an advanced student of knowledge. He came and he visited the center in Sana'a, and he gave a talk after Salat al-Maghrib. And the talk that he did was mentioning all the hadiths regarding the Prophet ﷺ using the minbar for other than Jumu'ah. The Prophet ﷺ using the minbar for other than Jumu'ah. Everybody with me or not? Other than Jumu'ah. Jumu'ah being 1 day out the week. And he mentioned the different narrations in his talk. Every night after Maghrib there was a talk, whether it was his class, the main sheikh, or the visitors, the wayfarers, the travelers. Anybody could come and speak. If you said something that was crazy or out of line, then they would sit you down. If you were a known sheikh or talib or mustafid, or they knew you were coming, faddal. But if somebody would just come, says, I want to give an admonition after salat, He would let them do it. So he gave the talk about the hadiths of the Prophet ﷺ regarding how the Messenger of Allah ﷺ used the minbar for other than the Jumu'ah khutbah. I don't think we still got it yet. Your eyes are very dreamy. The Jumu'ah khutbah is on what day of the week? Friday. Jumu'ah, that's it. In most masjids, 99% masjids, that's when it's only what? Used. Or the Eid. That's it. Other than that, the minbar is normally spider webs, cobwebs. Am I clear on this? Even in this masjid. So the Prophet ﷺ, he gave his talk about the times in which he used the minbar for what? Other than Jumu'ah. Whether it was a khutbah, an address, an announcement, or in this hadith, he's talking about the what? Salah. Talking about the what? Prayer. Am I clear on this or not? Type. So it shows us the other usages of the minbar and the obligation of following the Prophet ﷺ and learning the sifatul salah. Learning the what? Sifatul salah. This hadith also shows us that it's recommended for the teacher, the instructor, to be in a high place, to be seen, to be visible, and how being seen and heard at the same time has a more profound effect upon the mind of the learner. The mind of the learner. From the issues that pertain to this hadith of the modern day era or the modern day age is that pertaining to videos. The camera. Naam? The what? The camera. Is it permissible to do a live stream? Is it permissible to tape the khutbah? Or can it only be done in what? Audio. Just the what? Just the audio. Am I clear or not? And if it is permissible, what are the benefits of it? And even if it is permissible, should we do it? Should we tape the classes? Should we record the classes? Everybody understand this or not? And those who say that it's haram, first and foremost is the issue of taswir. The Prophet ﷺ says, Kullu musawwirin finnar, every musawwir, image maker, will be in the fire of hell. Those who have the worst punishment on the day of judgment are the musawwirun. It will be said to them, give life to what you have created. And the other hadith regarding the impermissibility of taswir. Also, they say having the camera is a means of fitna. They say it's a means of fitna. It's a fitna for the speaker. He's always on tape. He's always being videotaped. It's only human nature to flex or to feel a little bit, to show off, or to feel too shy, I don't know. Or they may say it's a fitna for a woman, a sister. She's at home in her country watching a man speak every night. She's attracted to him, his voice, his lips, the bass in his voice, his ilm, his knowledge. They say this. He says, no, I'm not making this up. Wallahi, this is a fitna. Says she can't look and lust off of this brother. She can listen to his voice. Even though that could be a fitna with some sisters. Some brothers have deep voices. I'll avoid your voice. MashaAllah. Some brothers have smooth voices. That could be a fitna. But it said that the sister, she's sitting in front of the screen and watching this brother's face and his body, his beard and his muscles or his skin or whatever the case may be. It's a fitna for her. So they say, can't do this. Then there are those who say after that, that it's a fitna of you just recording everything. They say you can record some things, but not all things. You just keep recording over and over again, there's something wrong with you. They said the brother, he loves the video. He loves to be taped. What? Every single what? Every time. Why does this? I'm not making this up. I'm not here to entertain you. This is real stuff. They said, why does he have to record every single class? Why is every class live streamed? Every now and then, okay, no problem. But every single night? Or as one brother said, he said, what are you trying to prove by answering a question in 2 minutes? What are you trying to prove? Who are you trying to show? What are you trying to show off to the people that you can answer a question in 2 minutes? So it's real stuff. The point I'm trying to get to is this is their argument. And the others, their argument, they say, is that there lies no doubt a person can't just sit on the minbar in front of all of the Muslims today. And the minbar visual and audio today is the media. And the people listening and seeing has a deeper cut in their minds of learning and them actually feeling like they're sitting what? In the class. Or the concept of if the Muslims in general, the knowledgeable Muslims, the Muslims upon the Sunnah and Athar, If they don't take advantage of media and things like this, then they will be monopolized by the kuffar or the ignorant Muslims or the astray Muslims, and the list goes on. Everybody clear on that? Khairan, inshallah. So therefore, this issue, some of that issue, it pertains to this hadith. Whereas the Prophet was on a high place to be seen. Also, the hadith of Jibreel says the Prophet was sitting on some type of dukkan, some type of like step or stool. Everybody understand this? To be what? Seen. And the other narrations as well, for the imam, the speaker, to be what? Seen. Not just heard. We said seen. We said what? We said seen. And no one in their right mind is going to deny the power of hearing something, the power of what? Seeing something. The effects of it. Everybody understand this? So, here to discuss the issue of tasweer, we're not here for that tonight. To discuss it, do we have to answer the question in 2 minutes? The live stream, we're not here to what? Discuss that right now. We're just trying to show you how you extract from the what? The hadith organically. And how the issue pertains to what? Other issues. Everybody clear on this or not? We ask Allah to purify our hearts and to keep our hearts pure of all negative elements. Self-amazement, conceit, envy, and jealousy. And also fake hypocritical piety. Your wife can't watch the HadithDisciple live stream because brother Muhammad ibn Munir is on there. Okay, no problem. But he says, honey, I'll be back. I'm going to watch the game with the fellas. What type of commercials, cheerleaders is going to come on? Men with tights on? And the list goes on. Let alone if he's even going to watch the game with the fellas. He may be going to Allah knows best where else. Or what's found on the brother's phone. And we don't want to go further than that. If you want to be upon piety, real life, then that's a good, live that life. Don't let your wife watch HadithDisciple live stream. Or anything else. Why do you have a smartphone, Yahi? Yes, the brother. Yes, the brother says. Why do you have a smartphone? Is a smartphone a necessity in 2018? No, it's not. You can get an old green screen phone, and that's more than sufficient. It's haram to use it. Why do you have it? Everybody clear this or not? There's no need for you to have that phone. Why you have a driver's license? You have to get a car insurance. You can walk, ride a bicycle like the people in India and China. Subway. So the hypocrisy, as we said, is oftentimes a smokescreen for someone's jealousy and insecurity. Everybody clear on this or not? We ask Allah to protect us from this. Everybody understand this? What are you doing? What are you even on YouTube? How do you even know? As we said, how do you know I even said this? Doesn't make any sense. If you have no time for it, it's haram, it's all cursed, it's evil, the brothers, how do you even know? How many videos on HadithDisciple? So we ask Allah for protection. And if we really believe in something being haram, then that's a good thing. But we should stick to it all around the board. And not just partially. And if we think that something is permissible, then we should do it according to the boundaries of Islam. And not care about what the people think and what the people what? What the people say. Everybody understand this or not? Tayyib? Khairan, inshallah. Moving forward. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, هذا مما ينكر أهل العربية إلى أن قال قاله صلى الله عليه وسلم فيه صلاته صلى الله عليه وسلم على المنبر ونزوله القهقرة حتى سجد في أصل المنبر ثم عاد حتى فرغ من آخر صلاته. قال العلماء كان المنبر الكريم 3 درجات كما صرح به مسلم في روايته فنزل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بخطوتين إلى أصل المنبر ثم سجد في جنبه ففيه فوائد منها استحباب اتخاذ المنبر واستحباب كون الخطيب ونحوه على مرتفع كمنبر أو غيره وجواز الفعل اليسير في الصلاة فإن الخطوتين لا تبطل بهما الصلاة ولكن الأولى تركه إلا لحاجة فإن كان لحاجة فلا كراهة فيه كما فعل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وفيه أن الفعل الكثير كالخطوات وغيرها إذا تفرقت لا تبطل أو لا تبطل لأن النزول عن المنبر والصعود تكرر وجملته كثيرة ولكن أفراده المتفرقة كل واحد منها قليل. وفيه جواز صلاة الإمام على موضع أعلى من موضع المأمومين، ولكنه يكره ارتفاع الإمام على المأموم وارتفاع المأموم على الإمام لغير حاجة، فإن كان لحاجة بأن أراد تعليمهم أفعال الصلاة لم يكره بل يستحب لهذا الحديث. وكذا إن أراد المأموم إعلام المأمومين بصلاة الإمام محتاج للارتفاع، وفيه تعليم الإمام المأمومين أفعال الصلاة، وأنه لا يقدح ذلك في صلاته، وليس ذلك من باب التشريك في العبادة، بل هو كرفع صوته بالتكبير ليسمعهم. He says the scholars of Islam, the scholars of Islam say the Prophet ﷺ's honorable minbar had 3 steps. So before we move forward with Nawawi rahimahullah saying, we have another issue, and that is it permissible for the minbar to have more than 3 steps? Is it permissible for the minbar to have more than 3 steps? Some people say no. They say it's a bid'ah for the minbar to have more than 3 steps. And they say if it has more than 3 steps, then in most cases the minbar will be elongated, it will be long, and it will cut the sufuf, sufuf. It will cut off the rows. And they say that having more than 3 steps is a bid'ah. Why is it a bid'ah? Is the minbar an act of ibadah? Or is it just a wasila, a means? They say it's bid'ah because the Prophet didn't do it. طيب. But the women are in a different building. They cannot see the imam, they cannot hear the imam except through a microphone. The wall is covered up, below, beneath, on top, on the right, on the left. You ask them, is this permissible? Is this a bid'ah? They say no. So it's obligatory to have the sisters in a different area. Why? Because what? Because fitna. They look at us, we look at them. The Sahabi looking from ruku', his shoulder, this and that. It's a fitna. 2018. But the brothers who have the minbars with more than 3 steps, they say that the masjid that we're in is huge. And only to have 3 steps would mean the minbar will be relatively tiny. The size, the sound, the acoustics, the sound system, etc. It has to be a larger, taller minbar for everyone to see. And they say that's a need. They say no, there's no need. Allah's messengers, he had 3 steps. Allah knew that the people would become. He didn't tell them to get more than 3 steps. It's bid'ah. But the sisters being a different side, a different area, we can use our what? We need it, so on and so forth. That's clearly not consistent fiqh. That's not what? That's not consistent fiqh at all. Here you're saying you can use your mind for a need or necessity, but here you what? You can't. Was the minbar an act of ibadah itself? Was the number of steps intentionally done? Or how could they just made 3 steps? Everybody clear on this? And if it was intentionally done, does it mean that it's haram to make more? Is that salah or fasting or hajj or jihad? Or is it something nothing but a worldly construction? Everybody understand this or not? And the many masjids you find that have, the minbar has many steps, the masjids are normally what? Very big. Everybody understand this? Everybody clear on this or not? And what is the purpose of the minbar except for the imam to be seen? So if there's a need for more steps, for him to be seen by all, common sense and logic would say, add more steps. Everybody understand this? Right, so that's one issue. Next issue we have here is decorating the masjids, adorning the masjids. Simple pieces of wood, slabs of wood, or millions of dollars being spent on tapestry, calligraphy, gold, silver, lush curtains and carpets, doors. Everybody understand this? All types of money is spent on a masjid, on a building, in which many people, they competed and they fought with each other for erecting the most lavish masjids. Everybody understand this? The most beautiful masjids. Everybody clear on this? Also the concept of wood. Why did the Prophet ﷺ use wood on his minbar? Why didn't he use stone or iron? He used wood. Was it something intentional, or was it a wisdom in the concept of what? Of wood. Moving forward, An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, the Prophet ﷺ's minbar was 3 steps. It says, so the Prophet, he took 2 steps down until the asl, the footstool, the base of the minbar. ثُمَّ سَجَدَ فِي جَنْبِهِ, and then he made sujood on the side of the minbar. He says there are many benefits in this. Number one is the recommendation of taking a minbar. It's recommended to have a what? A minbar. Number two is the recommendation for the khatib or any speaker. He says, وَنَحْوِهِ, to be in a place which is murtafi', above, for him to be seen. He says, this also shows us the permissibility of performing slight actions in the prayer. Performing what? Slight actions in the prayer. 2 steps don't nullify one's prayer. But if there isn't a need, then one should avoid it. If there is a need, then it's nothing wrong with it. It's not disliked. As the Prophet ﷺ did. He says this also, it shows us that what? When there is a lot of movement in the prayer, but it's split up, then it doesn't nullify the prayer. A step, then you stay still, then you take another step. Or took one step in the first rak'ah, you made the other positions, وَهَكَذَا, every rak'ah, tafarraqa, to split up. Like we said with regards to carrying the baby last night. He says here, this also shows the permissibility for the imam to pray on a place that's higher than those who praying behind him. For the imam to be on a place that's higher than those who are behind him. A house, a stage, auditorium, some type of place in which, for one reason or another, his place is higher than those who are behind him. He says, but if there's no need, then he shouldn't do this. It's disliked if there's no need. And it also shows the person behind the imam to be in a higher place than the what? Than the imam. طيب خيرا inshallah. It also shows us teaching the people the prayer and that it does not disturb or disrupt one's prayer. And it isn't an issue of tashriq, sharing ibadah with people. It isn't an issue of sharing ibadah, but it's an issue of I have my own ibadah, and at the same time I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm praying to Allah, and I'm also trying to teach you. Everyone clear on this? Khayran inshallah. Let's move on to the next chapter. Chapter number 10, Fadl Salih.
Chapter
11, Afwan.
باب كراهة الاغتسال في الصلاة. حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال: نهي أن يصلي الرجل مختصرا.
Tayyib says here, chapter 11, the dislike of keeping the hands on the hips during a salah, the prayers. It's disliked, not necessarily haram, to pray with one's hands on his hips, or to pray with one's hands on her hips in the prayer. This is teaching us not about the masjid or the rulings of the masjid. This is teaching us about the salah, about the sifat of salah, the do's and don'ts of the salah. Hadith number 317 is narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. قال نهي أن يصلي الرجل مختصرا. It was forbidden for a man to pray in a state of ikhtisar. In a state of ikhtisar. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, اختلف العلماء في معناه فالصحيح الذي عليه المحققون والأكثرون من أهل اللغة والغريب والمحدثين وبه قال أصحابنا في كتب المذهب أن المختصر هو الذي يصلي ويده على خاصرته. وقال الهروي قيل وأن يأخذ بيده عصا يتوكأ عليها. وقيل أن يختصر السورة فيقرأ من آخر آية أو آيتين فيقرأ من آخرها آية أو آيتين. وقيل هو أن يحذف فلا يؤدي قيامها وركوعها وسجودها وحدودها. والصحيح الأول. قيل نهي عنه لأنه فعل اليهود. وقيل فعل الشيطان. وقيل لأن إبليس حبط من الجنة كذلك وقيل لأنه فعل المتكبرين. He says that the ulama of Islam, they differ on what this means. مختصرا, what this means. They don't agree on the interpretation of the hadith, the word in English or the word in the Arabic language. An-Nawawi's view, he says the correct view, the view that's upheld by the scholars of the language, the vocabulary of the hadith, the gharib, a subgenre of hadith studies, the gharib al-hadith, that's a subgenre of hadith studies, the gharib, the vocabulary of the Prophet's hadith. He says, and most of the people of the muhaddithin, etc., the Shafi'i ulama mention it as well, they say it means for a person to pray with his hands on his hips, as was translated. To pray with hands what? On the hips, however you do it. Everybody understand this? And others, they say, it's for a person to lean on a stick or a staff. To lean on a cane. To pray while leaning on a cane. And others, they say what's meant by ikhtisar is the outward meaning of ikhtisar, to summarize the prayer. It's to only read 1 or 2 ayah from the end of a surah. And others, they say it means for a person to cheat the prayer, to offer it sloppily and lazily, and not to fulfill its full course. An-Nawawi rahimahullah says the correct view of this word is the first view, is that it's to place your hands on the what? On the hips. Why? One may say, why is it haram? Or why is it disliked? Why is it prohibited? Some say that it is what the Jews do in their prayer. When they pray, they put their hands on their hips, the Yahud. I.e., not to avoid or not to imitate the Yahud. Others say it's what the devil does. It's what the shaitan does. And some say that when Iblis was kicked out of paradise, this is how he fell down. And others, last but not least, they say it's what the people of kibr, prideful people, do. What's important, whether it's this or that, the Prophet forbade it. Everybody understand the Prophet what? He forbade it. And if it's the act of the shaitan, or the act of Iblis, or Yahud, or the Mutakabirin, how can it just be disliked? And how can it not be haram? To imitate the kuffar, imitate the leader of the kuffar, Iblis, Allah's curse be upon him. And Allah knows best. Khairan, inshallah. This hadith shows us many things. First and foremost, it shows us that a person is not just to pray, but you are to pray in the manner in which is pleasing to Allah ar-Rahman subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's no other way except for the way of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And it shows that just as a person has to learn what to do, a person is also to learn what not to do in the prayer. Learn what to do and learn what not to do. Both. And that way you can make the second pillar of Islam, inshallah ta'ala, you can do it perfectly. The most important physical action of Islam is not a small, easy thing that you take lightly. It's something that is a lifelong process of learning, reading, studying, and performing and perfecting. And fighting yourself to pray properly, on time, extra prayers, etc. Hadith also shows us the impermissibility and the warning of imitating the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imitating the enemies of Allah, whoever they may be. The Yahud, Iblis, Shaitan, the prideful, arrogant people from among the Muslims, whoever they are. Is that it's obligatory to avoid their specific practices, whoever they may be. Next chapter says, Salih Fadl Iqra.
باب كراهة مسح الحصى وتسوية التراب في الصلاة. حديث معيقيب رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال في الرجل يسوي التراب حيث يسجد قال إن كنت فاعلا فواهدا.
Says here, dislike of leveling small stones in earth during a salah, the prayer. The dislike, it's disliked, it's not a good thing. Haram or not, but it's definitely not a good thing to take the dirt or the stones or the earth and to smooth them out. Or brush off your head or your face or your nose. I.e., this is not necessarily going to apply to how we pray today in the masjids, or in your house, or at work, or in the airport. What if you were outside on gravel? If you had to pray on cement or asphalt? If you had to pray in the dirt, you're in the woods or in the park. Tree bark. Everybody doing this? So it says, narrated, hadith number 318 by Mu'ayqib, radiallahu anhu. The Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, it says he talked about a man levying the earth and prostrating, and said, if you have to do so, then do it once. If you have to do it, then do it what? Only one time. An-Nawawi rahimahullah says about this hadith, معناه لا تفعل وإن فعلت فافعل واحدة لا تزد. He says the hadith means don't do it. And if you have to do it, if it's a must, then only one time. وهذا نهي كراهة تنزيه فيه كراهته. He says here, and this is not necessarily haram, but it's disliked to do it. When the Prophet said don't do it, he meant that you don't necessarily have to avoid it, but it's best not to. واتفق العلماء على كراهة المسح. And the scholars unanimously agreed it is something that shouldn't be done. They agreed it is disliked. It should not be done. لأنه ينافي التواضع. Because it doesn't mix with humility and humbleness in the prayer. What worry do you have about having dirt on your forehead or dust on your face? Who are you trying to impress and show off in front of? You're supposed to be a humble servant, a humble slave. If you're getting dirty in the service of your master, it's supposed to be a means of delight. Everybody understand this? وَلَأَنَّهُ يَشْغَلُ الْمُصَلِّي. Secondly, he says because it preoccupies the mind of the one praying. Preoccupies you. قال القاضي وكره السلف مسح الجبهة في الصلاة وقبل الانصراف يعني من المسجد مما يتعلق بها من تراب ونحوه. Qadi Iyad said many of the Salaf, they disliked this act. And they disliked for a person to wipe his face in the prayer. They wouldn't like someone to wipe the dust off what? Face. In the prayer. Nor would they like one to do it after the prayer. When they get up and they go out, they will allow the dirt to what? Stay there. They will want the dirt and the dust to stay on their faces. To what? To stay on their faces. Why? Perhaps one may say, maybe they looked at the issue like this is a means of this dirt bearing witness for me on the day of judgment. Or by me putting dirt on my face for the sake of Allah, it is a means of me being elevated in this life, in the grave, and in the hereafter. The exact opposite. The more humble you are for Allah, the more mighty you are. Allah makes you in the eyes of the creation. Everybody understand this? And the exact opposite is the exact what? Opposite. Everybody understand this? No one likes a prideful, arrogant person. No one likes a stuck-up, a show-off, a conceited person. No one really likes these people. Deep down inside, they don't like these people. They may act like they like them outwardly because of something that they want, of dunya, material. Or they fear harm from them. But deep down inside, they don't like these types of people. No one likes a jerk. No man truly likes a stuck-up woman that's conceited. He may like her beauty. He may be subdued by her physical prowess. That's it. Deep down inside, her heart and her mind, he knows that she's an airhead. Or exact opposite with a brother. He looks nice, he's this and he's that, he has money, but he's a jerk. He's arrogant, he's this and he's that. And the woman really doesn't like this person. Everybody understand this deep down inside. You want someone that has a good heart, humble. Everybody understand this? So the point is, the concept of the Salaf al-Salih wanting to be humble for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And rather, or preferring dirt to be on their faces than to be in their hearts. And many of us today are the exact opposite. We take great deal of care of our clothes, what we smell like, what we look like, what this is like, tailored, this, that, everything, fine detail. But our hearts, it's a total different story. Total different story. And most people, they only go to the doctor when it's something that's really, really messed up and wrong with their bodies. But the small hints that the body gives you, they ignore them. The only reason why I gotta go to the doctor now is look at my face. I can't go to work like this. Or I can't sleep. I can't eat. I have to go now. So just the concept of care of the body that Allah gave you, let alone the soul, is something that most of us really honestly don't give a great deal of attention to. And we freak out over a little bit of dirt on the outside. But on the inside, it's okay. Just watch it. It's only 5 minutes. It's only a song. It's only this. It's only that. It's only one this. It's only one that. No big deal. No biggie. Don't freak out, dude. Bro, relax. As the people say today, right? Khalid? But let the sun get on their clothes. What's the first thing they'll do? Everybody saying this? So you messed up my cut, man. I told you to line it up like this. You pushed me back. You pushed my head. Right, Riyadh? What about the heart being what? Pushed back. What about the soul being pushed back? Allahumma sta'an. Khairan, inshallah. Tayyib. We'll stop here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should knows best. Jazakumullah khairan. Sallallahu sallam wa baraka ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabina wa imamina Muhammad.